la la wake up from your asleep. We have arrived onto the future and the whole world is become electronic, supersonic, supersonic, electronic. Hey baby, ride with me away. We doesn't have much time. My blue jeans is tight, so onto my love rocket climb. Inside tank of fuel is not fuel, but love. Above us, there is nothing above, but the stars above.
All systems gone. Prepare for down count.
5, 4, 3, 1. Off blast!
Fly away in my space rocket. You no need put money in my pocket. The door is closed, I just lock it. I put my gold plug in your socket.
The sun and sky is bright like fire.
You and me gets higher and higher.
Cut off communication wire.
Only thing can stop us is flat tire. Hey love crusader, I want to be your space invader. For you I would descend the deepest moon crater. I is more stronger than Darth Vapor. Obey me, I is your new dictator. For you is Venus, I am Mars. With you I is more richer than all the czars. Make a wishes on a shooting stars. Then for you I will play on my cosmic guitars.
Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your belt seats. We has commenced our descent. I trust you enjoy this flight as much as you enjoy this accent.
Now back on Earth, it's time for down splash. Into sea of eternal glory my spaceship crash. People have arrived for to cheer me from near and far. And as I float, I open door and shout, I am world's biggest, washed up superstar.
As for sure as the sun rises in the west, of all the singers and poets on earth, I am the bestest. Come, let me put a ring of Jupiter on your finger. Then like a smell around you, I will forever linger. Okay, it's time for end. No more will I sing. Let me take you back in time. I want for you to experience Big Bang. Long live space race. Long live Mulvania.
Electronic, supersonic, supersonic, electronic.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. Happy Friday. Welcome back. Happy Friday. It's just one of those days. One of those days you need a cat on your shoulder. I can tell in about 5 minutes. In about 5 minutes, Beaver's gonna get jealous and he's gonna come over here and wanna get up on the desk. Who's this kitty? This is Syndra. This is Syndra. She's a cuddler. She ran over here and jumped on my lap as I was getting started, so like, all right, well, let's just prepare for that. It's true. That is the Syndra lore. That is the Syndra lore. She's the best hunter. Perched. She is perched. Can't make any sudden movements. what she likes to do is she likes to put her top half on my shoulder, and then she likes to kind of like sit on my arm. She's transmitting data. A bath, you're dirty. She's looking a little gray. She's been outside. She was outside this morning. She got all dirty. Yeah, she likes to go out and roll around in the dirt. She'll come inside, she'll be all gray except for the little like area around her eyes and nose. It's pretty funny. She looks like a coal miner that took off their goggles. We've got some questions in the box. This one came in yesterday, but they said it was okay if I did it today, so we're doing it today. I suffer from a major case of analysis paralysis. When I'm trying to make a decision about something, I get anxious about making the wrong choice and potentially losing something that I just shut down completely. What do you think would be the best way to handle this problem? To just think about a choice that you're okay with. Just think, it doesn't have to be the perfect choice. Okay, Syndra's moving over to the desk, so I can lean into talk now. Here you go, Syndra, you can sit there. Just don't hit my vape, Syndra. I don't need you getting the munchies. Okay. Let's talk about analysis paralysis. It's an anxiety-driven behavior. You know, we're trying to make a choice, and we want to make the right choice. We want to make the optimal choice. There's no such thing as a perfect choice. I would just try to focus on going with a choice that you can live with. Because if we let our anxiety run the show here, what's going to end up happening is we're going to not make any choice. We're just going to kind of shut down and not make any choice, and that's probably the worst choice. Me on the Netflix menu. What's up, my man? How you doing? Welcome in. Analysis paralysis. It takes over just about any time there's a choice to be made. You know, maybe you're in an aisle at the grocery store and you're trying to pick what type of bread you want. You're trying to pick, you know, and you've got that lingering question in your mind, well, what if I pick the wrong one? What if I pick this one and I don't like it? What if I regret the decision I make? If you feel like you've got too many options, it can be helpful to first off try to narrow those options down. You know, if you can make it to a choice between two things, that's pretty good. Sometimes you gotta work your way down. Like, oh, I'm trying to make up my mind between 5 different things. Narrow it down. What if I make the wrong decision and it altered my life in an unchangeable and negative way? Anxiety will do that for you. You don't have to worry, like, if I pick out the wrong flavor of jelly, if I pick out the wrong type of peanut butter, like, oh no, what if that sends me on a cascading path? What if the butterfly effect triggers? And next thing you know, You're thinking too far ahead. You're just trying to think to lunch. What type of peanut butter and jelly sandwich do I want to eat? Do I want it to be chunky? Do I want it to be smooth? Do I want grape, strawberry, raspberry? They all taste good. Some of them might taste better than others, but they all taste good. And so the only bad choice is to feed into your own anxiety. You know what I've started doing? You know, I used to deal with a little bit of the analysis paralysis, especially in the grocery store from trying to pick between stuff. What I just started doing is I'm just gonna pick one and put it in the cart and walk away. I'm just gonna not even give myself time to entertain the anxiety. Because you know what? I can live with it either way. I can live with the outcome. It's not about being perfect, it's about being adaptable. Anxiety likes to treat things as if it is a life or death situation, as if it literally is the end of the world. If I pick out the wrong color t-shirt, if I pick up the wrong flavor of juice, that's gonna be it for me. I'm donezo. Because that's what anxiety is there to do. It's there to help you navigate life or death situations. And you want it to be there because if you do end up in a life or death situation, you're gonna be happy that it's there. But we don't need it getting set off in the grocery store. We don't need it getting set off during the regular activities of our life. Just recognize what's going on. I'm running on Ice Age hardware. Our brains are pretty much unchanged for the past 10,000 years. I'm wired for saber-toothed tigers. I'm wired for woolly mammoths and giant wolves and stuff. Like that's what I'm wired to handle. And I carry that same energy with me into the grocery store. Whenever I'm trying to decide which frozen pizza I want to get. There's just too many options. Thin crust, regular crust, pepperoni, sausage. Realistically, if we want to try to look at this logically, realistically, whenever you narrow down your choices, they're probably all okay choices. You're probably not going to make the worst choice. You've probably already ruled that out automatically. You're probably just trying to decide between two okay choices. I go with what feels right and it helps me not overthink. If I'm in the grocery store and I'm trying to pick between things, I just imagine myself eating that thing and I try to figure out which one would make me feel better, which one would be more enjoyable. I think I'm gonna go with the Cocoa Puffs. We're gonna skip the Captain Crunch. I always go for whatever gives me that dopamine hit. Oh, yep, we love that dopamine hit. We love that dopamine hit. Dopamine's pretty good. Dopamine will get you by. But as far as neurotransmitters go, it's kind of like the fast food. Because there are different neurotransmitters involved whenever it's like I've been working on a project for a long time and that project finally completes after like months of work. It just hits differently than if it's like I've decided the right thing for dinner. Running on pure cortisol over here, sorry. That's no fun. Just breathe into it. I need to enjoy the store more. I'm not past the panicking over other human parts yet. Not human parts. Just try this on for size. Just smile at people. Just walk through the store and smile at everybody you meet, and what you'll realize is that not everybody's gonna want to make eye contact with me, not everybody's gonna want to smile back at me, and then you realize, oh shit, I'm actually doing pretty well. There's a bunch of people out here right now who can't even be bothered to make eye contact or smile back. Like, okay, I'm actually crushing it. Take it from me, I've walked around Walmart painted yellow dressed like Ned Flanders, and Casey was Marge Simpson. There were people who were making an intentional effort to not look because they were just trying to avert their gaze. I think it helps to realize that on average people are probably more anxious than you anticipate. Like, and so whenever we do feel anxious, we feel like, oh my god, I'm the most anxious person in the world. Nobody knows what this is like. I feel like in general, people just have a pretty high baseline anxiety. Once you learn to clear it up in yourself, you can really start to see it in other people. I like going to the grocery store because it's a good indicator of what the vibes are like in the rest of the population. It's like, how are people doing right now? I asked him if if he would quit following me, and he said no, so I told him he needs to stay in the car. You should ask him if he would rather just, like, do you want me to get you a leash? You just gotta follow me around like you're walking a dog? I'm over insecure men. I'm over insecure men who have to, like, try to hover and control every aspect of their life, of the woman they're with. It's kind of sad, actually. I need to make sure my woman's not looking at anybody else. I need to make sure, because if anybody else ever gives her any form of positive contact, I run the risk of losing her because I'm such a fucking loser. That's why I keep my wife safely at home. Yep, keep them out of... Yep, don't want anybody looking at them, don't want anybody smiling at them. Next thing you know, we're, why not just convert to, a more restrictive Orthodox religion, and you can just start dressing them in more restrictive clothing, Wouldn't want to tempt anybody. You see how it's just kind of a slippery slope? Let women live, Jesus Christ. What's your take on men that are threatened by animals that either favor their girlfriend or male dogs or cats, etc.? Well, what you see here is that the man in this situation equates himself to being one of them. He's like, I'm not the favorite dog? You have a dog that's more favorite than me? if you're threatened by the favor that a woman shows to an animal, like, why are you equating yourself to an animal? You view yourself on that level, like, I'm down here with the dogs and cats. I want to be your favorite dog. And I say this because a lot of men can just be straight up dogs. You know it. You know it. There's no denying it. Yeah, there's no denying it. We're out here eating day-old Taco Bell, burping and farting and pooping. There's no denying it. I got the dog in me. I'm a well-trained dog. But I'm also not jealous of the affection that a woman would show to a pet because I'm not competing with the pet. The only reason why you would get jealous or why you would feel some type of way about it is if you feel like you're in competition with the other pets. Because they're just sitting there silently, just like, I wish that she would scratch behind my ears. I wish that she would pat my head and call me a good boy. It might surprise you just how far you can get with a man by giving him a pat on the head and calling him a good boy. I'm 3 years into a transition now, and it's been everything I wanted. The mirror is now my friend and not my enemy. Unfortunately, I've lost a lot of that easy confidence I had as a man, and I miss it all the time. Interactions felt so casual, and now every interaction feels so heavy. I want that casual feeling back when I'm in social situations. Any suggestion? I have a theory. This might not have anything to do with you personally. This might just be where we're at now. You know what I mean? Because I feel the same fucking way. Like, I want that casual feeling back. I feel like everything's so fucking heavy now. I'm with you on that, actually. So I don't know. I think this might not be a you problem. This might be an us problem. I've noticed it in a lot of people. You know, just the state of the world we're in. Everything just feels heavier than it ought to. Am I wrong? Has anyone else noticed it? I don't feel like I'm alone in this. Could be we, not thee. True. But let's talk beyond that. So there are the societal aspects, but let's look beyond that. You know, we're wondering about that easy confidence. What I found is that in many people who display the quote-unquote easy confidence, it's not as easy as it might appear to be. If I know anything about men, it's that we like to put a lot of effort into making it look like we've put in no effort at all. We like to make it look like it was easy, even if it was really hard. I don't think that you've lost anything. I think that that confidence that you had was a part of who you are, and it's still in there. It's just in a slightly different shape, and that's fine. It's still right there within you. I don't think that has changed about you. That confident person was you, and you're still you. You're just more you than you were before. And so, if anything, I feel like you'd be more confident. Perhaps it wasn't easy, it was more a mask of oneself. While being yourself comes with a natural lack of confidence, we feel wanting to be accepted as our whole self. We want to be understood. We want people to understand us. That's really important for us. So sometimes we will act in ways that we feel like other people would want us to act. We do things to seek out the approval of our peers. When I think confidence, I think authenticity. To be yourself as you truly want to be. That to me is confidence. It's not necessarily about, being the loudest, being the most brash, being the most adventurous. It's about being the most you that you can be. Because it takes a lot of confidence to just be yourself. Because you've got so many other people telling you who you ought to be. I'm just me. That's good enough for me. Wouldn't expect you to be anybody else. Who else could you be but yourself? And so the real question is, who the fuck am I? I don't know who me is, but I still try to figure that out. It's a question that I feel like we desperately want an answer to. We want to feel self-assured. We want to have a firm understanding of who we are. And it feels uncomfortable to not know who we are. But the fact of the matter is, you're always going to be figuring out who you are. There's always more to uncover. You're always going to be a work in progress. And that's okay. It means that you can grow and change and improve and do all sorts of cool stuff. I feel like people want charisma while being confidently themselves. Yeah, they want the riz. Become a lot more comfortable with the fact that I don't need the answer. And you see how it's something that we definitely want to know. Like, we have this continued unbroken thread of who it is that we are, and it dates back to early on in our life. And we feel like it's something that's unchanging, it's something that's consistent, it's something that I need to be able to define rigidly. It can feel uncomfortable to recognize that you might not be who you think you are. But that can actually be a good thing. Maybe you don't need that doubt. Maybe you don't need that fear. Maybe you don't need that loneliness. Maybe there are things that you have convinced yourself that you need that are harming you because it's a part of who you are. And to let that go would mean questioning your own sense of self. And that's challenging to do because we want to know who we are. Self is definitely a moving target, precisely. Also, depression hates a moving target. Making baked goods? How did you like the movie yesterday? Gubins had never seen Jurassic Park, the original film. Cinematic masterpiece, period. Did I go to TwitchCon? I did. My favorite part was hanging out with my friends, enjoying the San Diego weather. I think you let me hit your dab pen. I was the guy with the mic. Oh, shit. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother. I still got it right here. Hell yeah, brother. Okay, so the story was I ran into a guy and I had my dab pen out and he was streaming at the time and he was like, and I was like, oh yeah, yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Good to see you. Anyway, this is what I do. It's kind of like a talk show. I have people ask me questions and we talk about psychology and stuff. It's pretty fun. I just came back from an orientation for what will now be my second job. I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed because it's all new. And I know I won't know everything for the first day, but whew! Part of me feels like I am not cut out for it. I took on this seasonal W-2 position, 2 months LOL, to have on top of my 1099 remote job, so that I can save up even more before I move away from my family in a couple months. I think what I am asking for is some encouragement and if you have any advice for these next 2 months. Sugar Biscuit, thank you for gifting that sub. Thank you. Okay. Questioner, you've got nothing to worry about. It's a 2-month seasonal job. You will figure it out. Don't worry. You're not expected to know it all day one. They will show you what it is you need to learn how to do. It's a 2-month seasonal position. They're not going to have you be doing anything too crazy. So I think you're going to do just fine. Getting W-2, we're getting basic labor rights. Love labor rights. We love solidarity. We love class consciousness. I've worked a second job in the evenings after my real job, and I lasted for like 6 months and wanted to die the whole time. You know, that was how I felt in graduate school. Because I worked full time and then I had to go to class for like 3 hours a night. Except it was probably more tolerable. I got to sit. Doodle. Do I stay in Cali? No. I'm actually out here in Kansas City. I flew in. Questioner, you can do anything for 2 months. You're gonna be alright. A lot of people taking on seasonal work at this time of year. Who knows, maybe I should do it too. Maybe I should go lift some boxes. I feel like 2 months of lifting boxes would be pretty nice, actually. Trying to find something to do is a struggle in and of itself. True. And nothing is something worth doing. And I started selling my blood plasma instead. And that was terrible for different reasons. Don't you just love America? Where we got people out here selling their blood. Love it. Worst thing I've done was when I was in dual enrollment and I worked at McDonald's for a bit. Then after I graduated, I only worked at McDonald's full time because I didn't want to stay in school. A McDonald's man. Show some respect, chat. We've got a veteran of the McDonald's fleet. I read that donating plasma can reduce the microplastics in your body. True, that's what I heard. I saw an article that said if you regularly donate your blood plasma, you can reduce the microplastics in your blood. McDonald's makes $20 an hour now, not even bad. Hell yeah. I feel like if you work a job where there is hot oil just out there and you have to like dunk stuff into it, I feel like you need to be paid appropriately. I feel like people who, people are always talking shit on fast food jobs. I'm like, working a fast food job should be one of the best paying jobs. It's one of the hardest jobs there is. Just getting scorched and having hot grease. No. Get my man here some hazard pay. I work in a factory for minimum wage. Damn. They really still have people out here working jobs for minimum wage? I thought that shit's criminal. You can literally not afford to provide for yourself anywhere in the country just working minimum wage. Shout out to anybody who's had to work in the food industry. Shout out to anybody who's had to work in the hospitality industry, the customer service industry. It's crazy the federal minimum wage is still so low. It's been unchanged for like 30 years. It's crazy. Maybe it's more recent than that, but still, it's like nobody can afford to survive on like $7.25 an hour. We need like a $25 minimum wage. You know what? I'm actually a work reform extremist, so I support the 420-69 work week. 420-69, 4 hours a day, 20 hours maximum, $69 minimum wage. I won't settle for anything less. I'm going to keep fighting for it. The government keeps shutting down and not even... Yeah, and they're still getting paid. I feel like more people should be way more pissed off than they are. It's like, oh yeah, you're out here still having to bust your ass just to barely survive, while all of the people who are in charge and who are actively fucking you over are still getting paid in spite of literally doing nothing. How many government shutdowns in our lifetime? We've had so many, and we're currently in the record for the longest one ever. And they have, oh yeah, your elected representatives have socialized healthcare, but they won't let you have socialized healthcare. They get their healthcare paid for. You have to pay for yours. Even if you have a job and you have health insurance, you're still having to pay a bunch of money. Shutting down Snap was wild. It's the kind of evil shit that you expected them to try to pull. What I imagine them trying to do is, you know, they cut the Snap benefits and then they're just like, well, you know, see? Look how much better everything is, and then they just never bring it back. Like, what Republicans like to do is just make public, like, outreach programs and public support programs. They just like to make them so shitty and underfund them so much so that they can be like, well, see, look how ineffective this is. Look how much of a drain this is, so that they just have an excuse to cut it. If these things were properly funded, they would be fine. But it's political strategy. I live in a very poor area and people have started their own food banks in their yards. I think that we'll be okay as far as food goes. And I'm glad to see that it's bringing people together, even though it's kind of fucked up what's happening to people. Just a reminder, we throw away about as much food as we make. Just about getting that food to the people that need it. I don't know. I'm at the point now where I feel like if we're the richest country in the world, what the fuck are we doing with all that money? Why aren't we balling with it? Why aren't we just like showing the rest of the world how great it is to live here and how wonderful our citizens are treated? It's like, no, our big cities smell like pee. There are several drug crises going on. There's a housing crisis going on. There's a homelessness crisis going on. There's a lot of crisis going on right now. What you're probably going to end up seeing is you're going to see more like affluent people also going to the food bank. Because affluent people just love free shit. I work at a factory that packages vegetables, so although it's horrible, the job will have security. And hopefully they give you a raise pronto. I don't think anybody should have to work inside of a factory for minimum wage. That's crazy. Factories are full of gigantic machinery that could just turn you into little bits. It's nope. Kind of feeling like they are not going to ever open the government back. Why would they? Yeah, just let it rot. It's been rotting for a long time, and I don't think like people are just like, we're kind of done with it. Are we gonna ghost the federal government? Are we just gonna leave it on red and just forget it ever existed and then just move on without it? That would be really bad if you live in one of the states that heavily rely on federal subsidies, but most states would be just fine. Can we cancel the IRS? Please do. Please do. The IRS is an institution that cannot afford to go after wealthy people to get their owed money because wealthy people can afford better attorneys than the IRS can. And so what the IRS instead does is it just audits average people because they can't afford the attorneys. A lot of people rely on federal aid to go to college. College should be free anyway. College should be free anyway, so. Also, we need more people going into trade labor anyway, because we are in a trade deficit. We don't have skilled laborers. We need more trade. That's what I'm saying. We need more trade. Low-key want to learn to be an electrician? There you go. Like, if we're going to have an American Renaissance and we're gonna like build shit up and make our cities livable and, you know, build high-speed rail and stuff, we're gonna need a labor force. We're gonna need people who are actually skilled, you know, engineers and craftspeople and a conservative anti-intellectual myth. Until we get robots doing all of the physical labor for us, we're still going to need good old manpower and woman power and they-them power. Machines break down a lot. It's true. That's, you know, having to fix machines is always going to be a needed job. Even if you make machines do everything, the machines are still going to break and you're going to need somebody who knows how to fix the machine. I love doing physical work. It feels genuinely rewarding. Especially when you're doing it for yourself. You know, you're starting a garden, doing a little bit of landscaping. Sex work, physical work? Depends on in which regard. You know, are you on the administration side? Are you doing HR? Or are you the actual laborer? It's a joke. Yes, it would be. Sorry, Sandra, did I bite my apple too loudly? Did that wake you up? From what I've heard from people who do it, is that a lot of sex work is just therapy and often no sex. You know what's crazy to me? Is that even though it's socially stigmatized to go and see a sex worker, it's more socially stigmatized to go see a therapist? Like, I would rather be caught in a hotel, you know, with an escort than get caught outside of a therapist's office. This just really shows you how cooked some men are in this country. Yeah, any position where a person kind of has a captive audience. You know, you're sitting there and you're talking to your hairdresser, or like you're talking to the bartender or something. It's like people find therapeutic outlets. I feel bad that men feel like they have no one to listen to them. See, here's the thing though. They do. They do. They're just sold on the lie that no one gives a shit. That's the most frustrating part of it, is that people actually do care. People actually do want to hear it. But then you just got, they're just, hey, nobody cares about how you feel. You need to keep that shit to yourself, brother. You can never show them that you cry. They're sold on this lie that nobody gives a shit. And so that's what I find really annoying. In my town, it's so run down, but speaking of people listening, no one improves it. Right? It's sad to see so many towns just kind of like go to waste. It's kind of sad to see it, because there are a lot of small towns in America where there's like one particular industry, or maybe there's one big factory, and pretty much everybody who lives in the town works in that industry or at that factory. And then the factory closes down and gets, shipped overseas. And then the town just rots. It sucks. I love small town America. I love driving through on road trips and just stopping in small towns. They've always got so much character. I feel that's how people are with my town. They just say it sucks and don't try to improve. You know, we were talking yesterday about organizing within your community, even if it's just like a community cleanup effort or, you know, there's all sorts of stuff you can organize a community around. Something needs to get done, you start going around asking people like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? We're all gonna go clean up the park. We have a lot of empty real estate no one bought. Oh, damn. That's always the worst. I know quite a few men. I'm scrolling back up because I missed some stuff. I was focusing on this apple. I know quite a few men who are very vulnerable with their moment-to-moment emotions, and I greatly appreciate them. It's nice to see that the tide is shifting. A person's emotionality really depends on them as an individual. It has less to do with like physical attributes or your gender or your sexuality or anything like that. It has more to do with just who you are as a person, how in tune with and how uninhibited you are in emotional expression. Yeah, it's definitely a learned behavior. Yeah. If you want me to get a little conspiratorial here, this isn't really much of a conspiracy either. This is actually just pretty obvious. You know, to what end would a culture or a country or a society, to what end would they benefit by teaching their male population to be emotionally inhibited from a young age? What sort of benefit might they be able to gain from doing that? They want soldiers, precisely. Because the people who are the best for sending to war or for handing a gun are the people who don't feel some type of way about it. You know, as I'm staring down the barrel of a rifle, I'm not considering the moral implications of firing a bullet. You gotta feel your feelings, brother. You gotta feel your feelings. His Uncle Sam, he just wants you as a warm body. He just wants to toss you into the meat grinder. But you've got a heart, and it's okay to use it. Feel your feelings, brother. Brother, you must feel your emotions, brother. The Middle East war and all the bad news partially led to my stay at mental hospital. It was a lot combined, but our government is very corrupt. Oh, absolutely. A lot of people who got shipped overseas got to experience firsthand all of the fucked up stuff our government does. This is why it's so important to welcome people with military backgrounds into progressive spaces. Sometimes in progressive spaces, you'll see people be dismissive of veterans because they associate everybody who's been in the armed forces as being conservative. But it's like, no, we need fighters. Like, like we need people with experience. We need people who, and there are many anti-war veterans. I'm not a veteran myself, but the anti-war vets, those are definitely my boys. Ironically, at the mental hospital, I met a Marine guy who was 5150'd. You gotta recognize that a lot of the people who get put into the armed forces have been subjected to a barrage of psychological conditioning. They want to strip down any sense of individuality that you have. It's really messed up. Kind of crazy that it's even legal. Sure, we might have some of the most baddest soldiers on the planet, but we have to, psychologically torture them to make them that way. It's kind of crazy. What's crazier is that there are people out there who think it's a good thing. Be all you can be, brother. Brother. You must be all that you can be. And this means feeling all of your emotions, brother. I'll never understand my brother at all for joining the military. Some people join it because they want to join it, some people join it because they think they want to join it, and some people join it because they think that joining it will open up other pathways for them in life. They'll be able to afford a house, or they'll be able to go to school. He was one semester away from finishing his degree in sociology and joined up to the Marines. He said, "Oh no, I can't get this liberal arts degree. People are gonna think I'm a pussy. I better enlist right away." It's kind of wild. That's kind of wild. He's like, nobody's gonna respect me with a sociology degree. I need PTSD. Give me a couple purple hearts. Can a flu last longer than 2 weeks? It's been that long and thinking that's what I have? You might want to take a COVID test. Also, you might want to check in with your doctor, because if you have any type of like infection for too long, you run the risk of developing pneumonia, because it'll like work its way down into your lungs. So you might want to get that checked out, brother. Time is money, brother. Got a pen and paper more. I totally get that you want to go pick up a gun. You know, think about how much conditioning is directed towards young boys. You know, we give them toys that look like guns. We give them soldiers and tanks and helicopters and fighter planes. We create this fantasy about what war actually is. And then when they're 18, we're like, all right, go ahead and go. And they're like, oh boy, here we go. They're not old enough. They're not developed enough. They've been too conditioned. They don't realize what they're stepping into. It's really messed up. It's really manipulative. Chat, we're all caught up in the question box. If you have any questions you'd like to drop in, we could get to them right away. Me, I'm just chilling. We need to do punk rock uprising. You know, there's a genre of music I've been into lately, a little bit of folk punk. I like a little bit of folk punk. What you'll notice is that punk is the genre, and you can apply it across all sorts of different types of music. Punk rock is not the only punk music. But yeah, I've always been a punk. Schools were designed with psychologists to make them training grounds for factories and for prisons. Yeah, I believe it. What do you think they were doing with all of that psychological research for the first 100 years that psychology existed? We were trying to figure out how to make more obedient workers. There's an entire field of psychology. It's called industrial organizational psychology. I was required to take one class of industrial organizational psychology for my degree, and it was the most boring and dreadful class that I had to take. The research is being used against us. Thankfully, I can help to inoculate you. I'm aware of their tricks. I will help you, brother. Want to take a quick restroom break? I'm gonna take a quick restroom break. Can hang out here with these sleepy kitties. We got Syndra here too. She's out cold. I'm gonna run to the restroom. I'll be right back. We'll be taking questions from the box as soon as we get back. Be right back. Alright, party people. We're back. Sandra, were you thinking about getting up? How are the fall leaves coming along where you're at? They're coming along pretty well around here. Went out on a scooter ride the other day. Would take in the fall colors. It was funny to the camera guy with Hassan freaking out about the fall foliage while they were in DC. Yeah, if you've only ever been in California, it's like, oh shit, what are these leaves doing? So, some of them are really beautiful. Those autumnal colors. That makes me want to go out on a hike. Leaf tourism is like 75% of my city's economy? Huh? Leaf peeping? That's a weird way of... It's a weird way of phrasing it. Fall color tourism. I want to go out and look at some leaves. That's what I want to do. I want to go look at the colors. I'm a simple man. What can I say? I see a tree that's a cool color and I go, ooh, ah. We'll be getting back to our regular pace next week, I think. Just feeling a little bit off this week. Today I kind of have a headache. But I want to go for a little while longer, so... Like I said before, if you got any questions, feel free to drop them in the box. Or plop them in the chat. Or did we finally do it? Did we finally win? Did we win mental health yet? Could also be the case. Did we win? Chat, we did it. We cured mental health. Guess I can pack it up here. I guess I'm out of a job. What else am I supposed to do now? I'm done. I've fulfilled my purpose. What will I do? I'll probably take a nap. Ski instructor, good idea. First things first, learn how to ski. See ya, Syndra. Syndra just hopped off my desk, which makes me wonder if Beaver's gonna come over here and replace her. Well, I'm just gonna enjoy it while it lasts. We've beat mental health, so let's just try to enjoy it for a moment. Be one of those people that operates the indoor skydiving machines. Honestly, I would. That sounds like a really fun job. Hanging out at an indoor skydiving machine all day. I've thought of traveling with the circus or traveling with the Renaissance Festival. I don't have a circus talent. There's a lot more that goes into the circus than just being a circus performer. In fact, there are probably more people who do things for the circus that are unrelated to performing than there are performers. I'm still trying to process your feeling good hack. Breathing feels so good, man. Haha, why, lol? Well, I'll tell you why. It all comes down to your nervous system. Let me show you. I'm trying to find a good picture. The cool thing about your lungs is that all of the different parts of your nervous system are connected to your lungs. This means that breathing is something that you do automatically without having to think about it, but it's also something that you can do manually. Since your lungs are also connected to some of those automatic parts of your nervous system, the parts that might make you feel anxious or alert, you know, if you were to start breathing rapidly versus if you're breathing in a relaxed way. To put it simply, breathing in a relaxed way sends signals through your nervous system that you are relaxed. It'll slow your heart rate down. It'll help you to switch into relaxation mode and out of fight mode. I used it before, but when you said to focus on how good it feels, it was a whole new experience, right? It was like a switch got flipped in your mind. Breathing is meant to feel good. Your body wants you to keep breathing, and so it rewards you by making it feel good. Now, normally we go through our day without focusing on our breath. We just do it passively in order to keep oxygen. But what you'll notice is that a nice, big, deep, refreshing breath, it feels really nice. When I went to the haunted house, all the people who chased me were stinky, and that concerned me. Well, that's probably because working in a stuffy haunted house for several hours, it will make you sweaty. It gets hot in there. Especially if you got all that costume on. Slathered with all this stage makeup. I was more logical thinking, okay, nice oxygen exchange, calm the heart rate, slow the thinking, but just focusing on how good it feels is cheating. It's your brain, you set the rules. It doesn't have to be cheating. The thing about feeling better is that it's not as complicated as we make it out to be. We overcomplicate things, we overthink things, you know. Anytime we're in a situation where things feel good, we're always trying to suss it out. Like, how long is this gonna last? Is this for real? Is it, is this some effort to deceive me? I'm the god of overcomplicating things. If you're an experienced overthinker, this means that you're really good at thinking. You've had a lot of practice at thinking. And since you have so much practice at thinking, you should be pretty good at regulating your thinking. You've done it a lot. You've done a lot of thinking. You've clocked a lot of hours. So you can practice underthinking instead. Sometimes it's nice to just go a little bit grug, just retreat into your Neanderthal brain. Bunga bunga. Try to be brainless when possible. Good. Your brain needs a break. It's good to keep your brain active, but you don't want to overwork it. It's just like any other muscle. You don't want to strain yourself. You don't want to get an injury. You don't want to be out for the whole season. You don't want to be taken out. Oh no, it's game 2. Got taken out the whole season. Afternoon. Well, hello. How's it going? Hi. Thank you for this stream. It is so valuable to me. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. It's very nice of you to say. I'm dealing with a loved one that has severe alcoholism and a gambling addiction. Ooh. I feel for you, my friend. It's a tough situation to be in. You're wrestling a couple of demons. As His life has never been worse, but he just will not try to improve anything. He is unemployed and won't even let me help him get job interviews or prepare for the interviews, for example. He has burned through all his savings on alcohol, and I don't know what is going to happen to him. I know I can't help someone that doesn't want help, but it's hard to watch them fall apart. Should I just say deuces and cut and run, even though it will cause me pain? It's never easy to be in that position when you have a loved one who is wrestling with addiction, especially one that's unwilling or just not ready. Sometimes it's not even about being unwilling. Sometimes it's just they're not ready. They're just not there yet. You know, they're still in the pre-contemplation stage. It's never easy to have to make that choice of like, do I keep this person in my life even though I might be enabling their behaviors? What I would say is this. What I would say is, if a person is headed towards rock bottom, there's not much that you can do to stop them from getting there if they're not willing to reach out for help. If they're determined on hitting rock bottom, then they will hit rock bottom. But after they hit rock bottom and they're more open perhaps to turning their life around, that's when you step back in. That's when you step back in and you can lend them that support and that structure that they need. Because sometimes, and this, I wish it wasn't the case, but I've worked as an addiction counselor. I've seen it happen many times, and this is kind of just how things play out, is that a person has to hit their lowest point before they're willing to make the necessary changes that they need. And so it's going to hurt you either way. It's going to hurt you either way to, watch them step by step as they continue to fall apart. Or to, set a boundary and I don't want you to feel selfish if you feel like you have to take good care of yourself. You know what I mean? I don't want you to feel like you're being selfish if you have to do what's necessary to protect your peace. And sometimes it feels that way when we're struggling or when we have somebody in our life that's struggling with addiction and we feel like, okay, I have to do something here. I can't just let this continue. What I would encourage you to do is to make sure that you're taking good care of yourself too. Because oftentimes when a family member is going through a crisis, we neglect our own needs because we're so focused on their needs. That's what I was getting at. I kind of rambled a bit, but that's what I was getting at. It sounds like your brother's on a downward slope, and that's really tough to see because it's a dangerous place to be. You don't want him to hurt himself. You don't want him to, wind up in jail or injured or worse. So I think if you were to want to help him in a way that would, be more likely to... Sorry, my head hurts, and I'm trying to word right. Let me rewind. You want to help your brother, but your brother's not ready for help yet. Whenever he is ready for help, you help him. Because if you do show up and help him when he does want help, when he is ready for help, that will give him a better chance of actually getting better. Having supportive family involvement in the recovery process shows a positive boost to the overall chance that the recovery will get better. The substance abuse program that I worked for, it was an evidence-based program. It was an evidence-based program, so we were all about like what stuff will give the person the best chance at getting better. It's okay to create distance and still offer support when you can. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing relationship. Exactly. Setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting somebody off. Setting boundaries just means, okay, there needs to be some structure in our relationship, Like if you're gonna come over and you're gonna be like asking me for money, I'm not gonna just give you money because you're probably gonna just turn it into alcohol, or you're gonna turn it into, lights and sounds on the slot machine. I had to do this with my mom when she was on meth, and it's very hard to tell them no, but sometimes you have to. Yep, sometimes it's for their own good. If you're dealing with somebody who's really deep in an addiction, it's kind of like dealing with a toddler. Addiction really hijacks a person's priorities, and it's hard to negotiate with them if they're not thinking clearly. What studies did you do? I didn't have to do any studies in this job. When I worked as a substance abuse counselor, it was an evidence-based program, which means that we used treatment methods that were backed by studies that showed their effectiveness. And so what we would often do is we would use things that were put out by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, an official website of the US government. Speaking of methamphetamine, I feel like that's a substance abuse crisis that's going on in our country that does not get nearly enough attention. When was the last time you ever heard any sort of national outcry about the methamphetamine addiction? It's like, no, we always talk about opioids. We're always talking about opioids. Not a lot of people talk about amphetamines, and the thing about amphetamines is they are everywhere. They are rampant across small towns across the entire country. very normalized. Yeah, it's in a lot of places, a lot of people are having to rely on stimulants in order to meet the demands of capitalism. In my opinion, it was drug addiction that destroyed small town America. Oh yeah, there's so many small towns across America that have just, all of the jobs are gone, and the only thing that's left are just like people who are using or selling drugs, or maybe you work at the gas station, maybe you work at the grocery store, like the Dollar General, or, you know. I know so many people on Adderall. Yeah, I have my feelings about the overuse of stimulants. I have my feelings about them. I feel like they are overprescribed. People need them because they help you compete. They're performance-enhancing substances. Do they do anything? And then, okay, so there's this other website. It's like educational stuff. It's meant for like people who have mental conditions and they want to learn more, or for like families who want to learn more so that they can help be more supportive. It's NAMI, it's the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And I don't know if they have anything about substance abuse on it. But there are resources for like family education on dealing with substance abuse disorder. It's probably on the SAMHSA website somewhere. Yeah, what is substance use disorder? How do drugs affect the brain? Anyway, having a family member that is going through addiction is very stressful, so make sure that you're taking good care of yourself as well. All right? It's not easy. Anybody here who's ever had to deal with, you know, a family member or someone close to them that was descending into addiction, you could probably say it was, you know, one of the darker times in your life. These days I take magnesium. Love a good magnesium. I got that magnesium, I got that zinc. Younger brother, it's tough, man. Oh yeah, it's a lot of guilt around that. It's normal to feel guilt when you have somebody in your family that slides down the path of addiction, because you might wonder, like, well, what could I have done differently? What could I have done to divert them? You know, what could I have done to help them? You know, maybe if I said the right thing, or maybe if I, you know, maybe if I showed up more often, or, you know. Spaceman, thank you for subscribing. Welcome. It's really difficult to go through. I've had to talk to family members, you know. Working as a substance abuse counselor, we always tried to bring the family in if they were around. If there was supportive family around, we normally would try to include them in the process. Because when you have supportive family around, your chances of improvement go up. And so it's really hard to see somebody on the descent. All that you can really do is try to minimize the damage when they're on the way down. You know? Just do what you can to keep everybody as safe as you can while they're on the descent, and then when they are ready for help, you help them. You know, it's not always... Ideally, there would be more early intervention. Ideally, we would be able to step in and stop people from becoming full-blown addicts, just really disrupting their lives. But unfortunately, that's not really how addiction works. Addiction creeps up on you. You find ways to rationalize it. You find ways to justify it. You find ways to hide it. Until it gets to the point where you can't do any of that anymore. It's just taken over your life. And that's the point normally when somebody might decide that it's time to get better. Because it's ruined everything else. And so as a supportive family member, that is your time to step in and to help. Of course, if we are able to divert people before they get too bad, you know, we'll take those wins. We'll take those W's. We'll take those W's, because it does happen. There are people who are able to divert themselves without things getting too bad. You know, maybe they start drinking a bit more, and they lose their job because of it. And it's like, that's still pretty impactful, but it could have been way worse. You know what I mean? It's not like they lost their job and their home and all of their friends and all of their money and their car and, you know. What you want to try to find are those wake-up calls. Because if you're dealing with somebody who is addicted, their way of thinking has been shifted. Because addiction kind of hijacks the brain. And so if you do have a chance to kind of divert them, you normally want to do that in those moments which are those wake-up call moments. You know what I mean? You know what I mean when I say a wake-up call moment? Like, hey, you just got a ticket for a DUI. Like, maybe you need to cool it with the drinking. You know, like, hey, your boss is putting you on probation. Maybe you need to lay off the alcohol. You know, just there will be moments where they will start to experience the consequences of their addiction. And normally those are the moments when you can step in and be like, see, this is why things need to change. It can also be a way of self-medication. Oh yeah, absolutely. A lot of people who develop an addiction are doing so to self-medicate themselves. You have a lot of people who have chronic pain because they've worked physical jobs, or you have, you know, any other number of, you know, reasons why people might self-medicate. Trauma. Hey, you're drunk when you're supposed to be at work. I had that happen once. Not with me. It was with an ex, and you know what I did? I dropped their drunk ass off at work. I was like, well, figure it out. No, I brought them beverages with electrolytes so that they could hydrate themselves. But I did drop them off at work. I woke them up and I'm like, aren't you supposed to be at work in 20 minutes? They're like, I'm still drunk, I'm not going to work. I'm like, oh no, you're going to work. It's like, we're not playing this game. Scout. Scout, can you stand somewhere that isn't right on the edge of my green screen? You're moving my green screen. Just move over like 2 inches. Why do you need your butt touching the green screen, weirdo? Amphetamine is also widespread in medical professions, people that work more than 24 hours a day. Yep. Like I said, performance-enhancing substances. Kind of funny that we are wired in such a way that we will take drugs in order to work harder. Especially when we're not even the ones profiting off of our labor. That's the weirdest part to me. Like, damn, you're really taking drugs so that you can make somebody else more money? That's crazy. Anyway, seize the means of production, comrades. Seize the means of production, comrades. Working people of the world unite. You know, the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles. Freeman and slave, patrician and plebeian, lord and serf, guildmaster and journeyman. In a word, oppressor and oppressed. Stood in constant opposition to one another. Carried on an uninterrupted, now hidden, now open fight. A fight that each time ended either in a revolutionary reconstitution of society at large, or in the common ruin of the contending classes. I should just read this whole book for you sometimes. I should just read the whole book for you sometimes, because it's not that long. It's more of a pamphlet. The old Communist Manifesto. Try not to freak out. I wish I didn't have to sit through this firing. You see, you can tell I'm a little bit of a troublemaker, because if I caught wind early on that I was going to be fired at a later date, I would make it very hard for them to do that. figure it will happen on Monday when the CFO gets back. Well, no, see, you won't even be there Monday because you're gonna clock out and you're gonna take all of your sick days. Does everybody cheat? In what way? Like romantically? No. Definitely not. You know, I've met some people who have said things like, I cheat in all of my relationships, and it made it very clear that I did not want to be friends with this person. Like, ew, gross. About weird behavior. I'm having trouble reading the Theory of Consciousness book. Could you summarize it for me quickly? It's called Das Kapital. What makes you think I know how to read? You see, I'm such a woke leftist that it was just intuitive to me. Like, I've always questioned capitalism. I've always been an anti-imperialist, even from a young age. So I've never read a single goddamn book. I know it in my soul. When I do read, it's normally science fiction. Born with an inherent encyclopedic knowledge of labor movements? Not so much that. I was born with an innate knowledge that this isn't right. This is fucked up. This system's broken. Maybe I'm just a reincarnated labor guy. Maybe I was a labor guy in a past life and I've just reincarnated. That's why it's so innate. That's why I've always just... I feel like I've been aware of class consciousness since a young age. In Das Kapital, Marx explains the theft of surplus value of labor, then goes on to discuss the inherent instability of capitalism and predict its demise. Yeah. Which was pretty woke for the time. You know, people back then just didn't really think that way. They're like, oh boy, if I just work really hard, the boss is going to notice and then I'm going to get a raise, or maybe I'll even get promoted. We were still hard on the copium of that myth of meritocracy. If I work really hard, I honestly can't really think of a time where I haven't been pro-socialism. I'm not trying to like brag or anything. I'm just trying to think. There was never a time in my life where I was like, oh yeah, I want to be rich. I want to have a big company and I want to boss a bunch of people around. I want to own a bunch of stuff. I always see self-checkouts in all the stores now. You know, if you're going to be doing the work, make sure that you're getting paid. Anyway, I think my realizations about myself are just a reminder that these types of ideas are actually quite popular. You know, socialist ideas, these types of progressive ideas, workers' rights, you know, universal health care, affordable housing, free schooling. These ideas are pretty popular amongst most people, but the US government has spent an ungodly amount of money propagandizing people against anything socialist, even though your elected officials get to enjoy all sorts of socialist benefits, like free healthcare. I've always had trouble with the class consciousness. In my experience, people are as different as they come. True. There is uniqueness, but we also all belong to the same class, because everybody here, and probably everybody you know, wouldn't be able to just go open a factory somewhere just because they wanted to. Unless you can just like go open a factory somewhere just because you want to. Like, we're not in that party. We're not in that class. We are in the working class. My dad was like, you don't want to be a communist? And I was like, I always was, but didn't know it. Or I should have told him that. It's true. It's true. Kids love things like fairness. Kids love things like sharing. It's adults that teach them that it's bad. Scout, get out of my green screen. This dog just likes to stand under my green screen, just like with it draped over her back, just honking at me. I think a lot of people are also sold on the myth that having more money means you will be happier. Like, you can get your needs met, you can have stability, and that can make you happier, but nothing about having excess wealth does much to make you very happy. It's sad hearing stuff from my mom like people just use welfare to steal taxes when I grew up in motels and campgrounds only eating 3 weeks out of 4 a month when we ran out of EBT. The propaganda works. It's crazy effective, especially for people who are struggling. It's crazy that they get people to vote against their own interests. The problem with capitalism and why it will inevitably consume itself is that it is obsessed with infinite growth. Now, anybody who knows anything about biology would be able to tell you that there is no such thing as infinite growth within finite space. Nature has a name for things that like to try to infinitely grow with finite space. We call it cancer. And that's what capitalism is. We need to make more money than we made last year, then we need to make more money the next year, and more money the next year, and we need infinite growth in a finite space. It's cancerous. For an excellent diagnosis of what capitalism is doing and how it maintains itself, see The Society of the Spectacle by Guy Debord. Guy Debord. See, that's what I need. I need to read more books. But first I need to learn how to read. In the YDS back in college, took philosophy of Karl Marx, history of Soviet Russia, history of South and Central America. That was my primer on how socialism didn't fail. Capitalism just makes it easier to wield a lot more resources in the hands of an idealistic few. Precisely. Also, look at all socialist movements in history and show me one that did not have direct interference by some sort of capitalistic force. Blessed suffering. I just want to let you know that it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but there will be a day. There will be a day where it happens. Just look forward to that day. Don't get me excited. It's too late. Zohran Mamdani won as mayor of New York City. We've got a democratic socialist foothold starting. Thinking about checking out my local DSA chapter. Maybe I'll run for city council. Maybe I'll run as a democratic socialist for city council. We gotta enjoy the win because we need a win. Things have only been getting worse year after year. It's about fucking time that things started to get better. So maybe this will help to wake up that dog in you. Or cat. Yeah, whatever. Get your claws out. No one's gonna save us except ourselves. It's true. It's true. People did horrible things in the name of good. What makes you bring that up? You think we want people fed and housed, we want people educated, we want people to be enjoying life more, we want people to feel less hopeless. You know, I don't know if you're aware, but like hopelessness rates, anxiety rates, depression rates, suicide rates have just been trending upwards year after year after year. And so if all of that went down and people started enjoying life again, I would take that as good. Oh, hey, Beaver. He's here. My man. Beaver. Beaver? The thing is, that argument sounds reasonable, but it's BS because there is inherent violence in the system as it is right now. Which is why when you find mold in your house, you rip out all of the stuff that has mold on it. You don't want there to be mold lingering in your house. You don't want to just paint over the mold. You want to gut it. Sometimes you just gotta rip it down to the studs. Because the story of history is a long history of injustice after injustice after injustice that was not spoken to, that was never addressed, that was never made right. And so we have to focus on what's going on right now. We have to focus on what's ahead of us so that we can continue to build a more fair and equitable and just world. Once we do that, then we can start looking backwards. Settling all those old scores. If that would be a productive use of our time. There was a long time in the United States where identifying as a socialist would get you funny looks. I think something else that's worth considering is that if you're the type of person who is actively engaged in some sort of political space, you know, you watch the news, you watch political streams, you read books, you are already ahead of like 90% of people as far as political insight goes. And so, while it may feel like there are a lot of people who are on the other side, in reality, they're mostly just people that are just voting for their team because that's what they always do. They're like, well, I've been a red team supporter since I was born, so I'll just continue to support the red team. A lot of people think about politics less than they think about football. And they think about it in a similar way. They care about that number on their paycheck. They care about the amount of money in their bank account. They care about being able to pay their bills. I guess where I'm going with all this is try not to write anybody off just because they might not be where you're at yet. The ideas that we're promoting are actually quite popular. Just need to find ways to connect with people on those ideas. The other side is amplified by vast armies of Russian bots. It's not just Russian bots nowadays. Pretty much every country has their own, like, botnet. There are these, like, bot farms of phones. Yeah, next time you're online and somebody's trying to argue with you in the comments section, just remember that it's probably not even a real person. It's probably one of these, phones hooked up to a massive network. They're just there to generate engagement. It's all fake. And so if you ever find yourself wondering, how could somebody be so stupid? Maybe it's not even a person at all. That's what I like to do. I just like to assume, like, okay, this person can't even be real. This you must be a bot. Like, I'm not even going to engage. But they are programmed in such a way that they will say stuff that is meant to be enticing to you to engage with. And so they'll say stuff that's just downright vile. They'll say stuff that goes against everything you believe, because it makes you more likely to engage with it and more likely to see advertisements, and it makes you more likely to buy those name brand products. The guy on 3 separate laptops. Yep. It's like, some people are doing it the old-fashioned way. They're like, oh, you know me, I got 3 different browsers open. I got my phone account. I've got several burner accounts. The containment control for a social network paper the Air Force put out 10 years ago is something I think often about how social leaders can influence wide groups of people easily. It was the Air Force that put that out? Interesting. Like, we can't let these people organize. They're going to start demanding that we treat them fairly. Just like all of the other peasant uprisings throughout history. Anyway, I'm in my radicalizing era. I'm in my class consciousness era. The politics are going to be leaking through. Really feels like the feudal era a lot of times. Always has been. We never left. We never left. You know, when you think about it, class consciousness could be good for your mental health, so there is a potential benefit here. Real villains are landlords. True, always have been. The real problem is these lazy fat cats who just want to lay around. They just want to lay around and eat all the food. They don't want to have to ever lift a finger. This is lazy fat cats. He's dreaming about owning property. He's dreaming about raising the rent. Beavis, are you dreaming about a rent hike? You better not be raising those rates. He said freeze the rent? That's crazy. What's that noise? It's horsing around. We're horsing around. We're horsing around, chat. If the noise is loud, I think I can turn it down. If somebody wants to test it with another horse. We need hooves on the ground. Hooves on the ground. I think I was able to turn it down. It was loud. I heard it very loud too, so... Beaver, what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? Thinking about chicken? Thinking about chicken? Look at the size of these paws. Look at those grippers. This cat is an absolute unit. You're winter coat is coming in nicely, my friend. You look very floofy. Isn't he handsome? That's my handsome boy. Alright, we got a question. Let's take a look. My mother and her sister, my aunt, are in a feud over their father, my grandfather. She has been taking care of him, and my grandmother... She's been taking care of him and my grandmother for many years in his old age, and she has done nothing and thinks she's using him for money. Alright. I'm gonna try to figure out who's who here, but I will just be completely honest, I got a little confused as far as who's who. You know, when we say she, are we talking about mom? Are we talking about your aunt? So who has been taking care and who has done nothing? Maybe if I read more, I can figure it out. This is completely untrue, and because I am her nephew and close to my aunt, I feel put in the middle. I want them to reconnect and have our family holidays together again, but it has been over a year now. Is there anything I can do to help my aunt be civil again? I just want everyone to get along. Alright, I'm still not entirely sure who's helping and who's doing nothing. But it doesn't really make much of a difference because that's not really the point. What we're trying to do is how can we all come back together? If one of them has some type of feeling about how much the other person is helping or what's actually going on, we need to just sit down and have an actual conversation about it. You know, because we're kind of just throwing some accusations at each other. Just using people for money. That's a pretty big accusation, especially to direct towards your own family. Now, it's tough when there's family drama and you get caught into the middle of it like this. Sometimes it just takes time. sometimes it takes a change in the situation in order for people to start talking again. And so what I would encourage everybody to do is to start talking before you have to start talking again. Let me explain. When it comes to dealing with older family members, eventually you're going to have to start talking again because something's going to happen. You know, somebody goes to the hospital, somebody passes away, there are arrangements that need to be made, and so there will be a point where you will have to start talking again. And I would encourage you to start talking and start making amends before you're put into a position where you have to come together. To be clear, my mom is the caretaker and my aunt is accusing them about using them for money. Oh. Well, maybe your aunt just feels insecure about not helping, and so she rationalizes that by accusing your mom of only doing it for insidious reasons as a way to ease her guilty conscience for not helping her parents more. But that's just me speculating. Like, sometimes that's something that people will do when they're insecure, is they will accuse other people of doing nice things for the wrong reasons. It's like, no, you just feel bad because you're not doing the right thing, and you think that I must be doing something awful. Anyway, they're sisters. Have them hash it out. You know, maybe think of a way that we could bring them together. Not even to have a conversation, but just to hang out. Let me elaborate a little bit. When it comes to reunifying family members that have been in conflict, don't focus on remedying the conflict with that first meeting. You know, have a meeting where you can just hang out and keep it more casual. You know, it might be awkward, but it doesn't have to be a fight. You know, and try to have the conversations you need to have. You know, maybe do that later. Maybe do that the next time or a couple times after. Don't rush into trying to fix it. Just normalize being together again. Normalize hanging out even if things are awkward. So if you want to have them come together, my mom has reached out and hasn't gotten a reply numerous times. She's tried to be the bigger person in this scenario. Then I guess there's not really much you can do if your aunt is just wanting to act avoidant and immature. But if you're close to your aunt, maybe you could talk to her and help to reel her back in. Maybe she doesn't want to hear from your mom right now, and so that's why she's shutting her out, but maybe she'd be more open to talking to you. Anyway, this type of family conflict can be complicated, especially when parents are involved, or finances are involved, or inheritance is involved. It's like, it can be really messy and it can be really stressful. Just try to keep being an advocate for peace and reconciliation. Peace and reconciliation might not happen, but you can continue to advocate for it. You know, at the end of the day, it has to be the two of them as adults that come together and decide they want to talk again. All you can do is advocate for it. All my family hates each other over inheritance. Way to go, capitalism. You've made people hate their own families. What else do you want to take from us? Anyway, if you have a good relationship with your aunt, you might have a good opportunity to kind of just talk to her and help to bring her back in. And I wouldn't even... Okay. In talking to your aunt, I wouldn't even talk about what's going on with your mom or with your grandparents. I would just talk about what's going on with her in her life. Because what you'll probably uncover is that there's probably some other stuff that's adding some stress to this person's life, and this is why they're acting the way that they're acting in this situation. You know, maybe they're stressed at work, maybe they're stressed in their relationship, maybe their kids suck, I don't know. No shade on your cousins. Just show up and be present for her and be like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? I miss you, it's been a while. It can give you some insight as far as what's going on under the surface and why things are the way that they are. And when you know that, it can sometimes make it easier to fix the problem. They're sisters, and the drama involves their parents, so I'm willing to bet that this beef goes all the way back to childhood. Like, you were always mom and dad's favorite, you know, like that kind of stuff. Yeah, I would just show up and try to connect with her and just, you know, let her know that you miss her and, you know, don't even bring up the drama, just be there for her, and that will encourage her to want to come back in. All right, we got more questions. Let's keep it rolling. Got a little bit of a headache today. So, I've been trying to slow down, calm down, and stop and smell the roses in life, like many of my friends have advised me to do. I'm in a very unique position where, as long as I'm careful with what I have, I will never technically need to work for a living. The issue is that I also can't seem to relax. Every time I do, some negative memory or thought comes up, giving me massive anxiety or even making me angry. Sometimes I'll even get this random fear of I could lose everything if something goes wrong and end up panic applying for jobs and then burning out before I ever hear back. This is a cycle I've experienced for like 10 years now. Any advice on being able to get through those random panic moments and finally slowing down without that ish coming up? It's the ish that is preventing you from slowing down all the way. Because as you start to slow down, those things start to come to the surface, because those are the things that are interfering with you being able to slow down. Anxiety, existential dread, worrying about being able to meet your needs. If you want to relax more, you gotta work through those things. And so when one of those things comes up, let's try to look at it a little bit differently. We can change the way that this cycle operates. I don't need to like take the negative memory and then start spiraling out and then keep doing the same things that I have been doing for the past several years. Let's do something different. This thought comes up, this memory comes up, this feeling comes up. Just observe it. Treat it with curiosity, like you're observing a phenomenon in nature, like you're watching a flower bloom or a butterfly escape its cocoon. You're just watching something unfold. Don't respond to it, don't react to it, just observe it. The art of relaxation is all about learning how to just observe what you're thinking and what you're feeling and not immediately jumping in whenever those types of thoughts or feelings pop up. Like, uh-oh, I better hop up. Something could go wrong, I better start doing something. Just sit there and watch the feeling, see where it goes. Approach it with curiosity. It'll feel scary, it'll feel stressful, but it won't kill you. But anyway, that's how you do it. Whenever those things pop up, just take it as an opportunity to practice responding to those things. You're practicing responding instead of reacting. Just had to pay a lot of money for my parents' cat's vet bill, and I feel poorer and I feel sad that I lost money. But I love the cat. How can I just not think about this money loss? By thinking about the cat instead. I think I'll recover in the future, but I want to get over this fast. It's your parents' cat? Can they pay you back some of it? You know, like getting all that money back, especially if you're having to like step up and pay a bill on their behalf, it's like good luck. But maybe they could at least throw something your way as a measure of goodwill. Just think about that cat. Worth. I already feel guilt for spending too much money on clothes, so I should feel less guilty spending money on something that matters more, like our family cat, but it feels the same as when I splurge on clothes for some reason. Money comes and money goes. Sometimes you will have no money, sometimes you will have 3 money. But the important thing is that you had money when you needed that money. You had a cat that needed help and you had money to help it. That's what matters. The universe tends to balance itself out. Don't let the guilt of spending money outshine the feeling of accomplishment that you should have from helping save a life. You know? If it makes you feel better, Beavis is proud of you. Beavis, will you tell them, Beavis. Tell them that you're proud of them. Hey. Oh. Hey. Ah! He's very proud of you. Wish I could splurge on clothes, but I don't like spending the money. I get the guilty feeling chatter. Why does splurging on clothes feel good? Why does spending money on stuff feel good? Gives you that dopamine hit. It doesn't for me, it's more I need the clothing. And it's not really splurging, it's an investment. If it's something that you need and you're just meeting your need, to me, splurging is about going above and beyond. It's about being excessive. This is why we like to keep a good sense of balance. Right, Beaver? Beaver, are you ready for dinner? These dogs are whining at me to go outside, so I need to go take care of these dogs. Oh, hi, Beaver. Oh, hello. I feel excessive when I get grocery items that are more expensive. Well, sometimes it's nice to treat yourself. But you don't want to treat yourself all the time because that's how you get spoiled. All right, dogs, I'm coming. All right, everybody. That's going to be it for me today. I've got a bit of a headache and these dogs are crying at me, so I'm going to go. Hope y'all have a great night. Hope you enjoy your Friday. I see Dr. K is live. I'm going to raid him and then maybe he'll learn who I am. Let's try to get me on Dr. K. What's the raid message? Greetings from the brain domain. OPV with the gifted sub. Let's go. Let's go. That's that good shit. Alright, Atticus, I'm coming. This dog, he's so impatient and he makes the worst noises. Alright, everybody. That's going to be it for me today. Have a great night. We're going to raid Dr. K. Maybe he'll find out who I am. Maybe he'll bring me on the show sometime. Could be good for us. It's called networking. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.